Students, good morning. How are you all? Hope you are fine and safe by God's grace. Today, before we could start our lesson, I'll ask you a few questions. Students, when we got independence? Yes, 1947 we got independence. Before independence, who ruled India? The British people only. They ruled India for more than 300 years. When the British ruled India, Indian people faced many revolts or many problems. So they could not tolerate. So to oppose the British East India Company, Indians started many revolts like Vellore Mutiny and the Great Revolt of 1857. Those things only we can call it as a anti-colonial movements. Today what topic students going to start? Anti-colonial movements and the birth of nationalism. On 23rd June 1757, the Nawab of Bengal, whose name was called Siraj-ud-Dowlah, was defeated by English East India Company at the Battle of Plassey. This Battle of Plassey was organized by Robert Clive. Who is Robert Clive, children? He is the commander-in-chief of English East India Company. Robert Clive was the commander-in-chief of English East India Company. Robert Clive, he got secret support of Mir Jafar. Children, who is Mir Jafar here? Is the uncle of Siraj-ud-Dowlah and chief of Nawab's army. Okay, so Mir Jafar was uncle of Siraj-ud-Dowlah and chief of Nawab's army. Okay, then Jagat Singh. Who is Jagat Singh, children? Jagat Singh is a money lender. Jagat Singh was money lender. அப்படின்னா ஒட்டிக்கு பணம் கொடுப்பாங்க இல்லையா அவங்களதான். So Jagat Singh was money lender of Bengal. That Jagat Singh, he was ill-treated by Siraj-ud-Dowlah. Jagat Singh, he was badly treated by Siraj-ud-Dowlah. Then, between 1757 and 1760, the English East India Company received rupees of 22.5 million from Mir Jafar. How many amount ma? 22.5 million. 22.5 million from whom? The company got from Mir Jafar. This amount of money, same money, was used to start industrial revolution in Britain. The same amount of 22.5 million was used to start industrial revolution in Britain, which rapidly mechanized British textile industry. Which one? The industrial revolution rapidly mechanized British textile industry. அங்க என்ன பண்றாங்க? அந்த கைத்தறி தொழிலை ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிட்டாங்க பிரிட்டன்ல. But on the side of India, on the other side of India was in the path of industrialization. India was in the path of deindustrialization. Deindustrialization means what? Reducing industries in India. And forced to create market for product manufacturing Britain. பாருங்க அங்க பிரிட்டன்ல வந்து இண்டஸ்ட்ரி அதிகமாகுது, டெக்ஸ்டைல் இண்டஸ்ட்ரி அதிகமாகுது. அதுவும் எப்படி? மெக்கனைஸ்ட் பிரிட்டிஷ் டெக்ஸ்டைல் அதிகமாகுது. ஆனா இந்தியா சைடு என்ன ஆகுதுன்னா டீஇண்டஸ்ட்ரியலைசேஷன் ஆகுது. அப்படின்னா என்ன? reduction of industries. And India was forced to create marketplace. அப்ப இந்தியா அது எப்படி ஆச்சாம்? மார்க்கெட் பிளேஸா போயிடுச்சாம். எந்த மேனுஃபேக்சரிங் ஐட்டம்ஸ்? பிரிட்டன் மேனுஃபேக்சரிங் ஐட்டம்ஸ் இந்தியால வந்து மார்க்கெட்டுக்கு மட்டும் பயன்படுத்துறாங்க. ஓகே, then India was blended by East India Company for more than 190 years. India was how many years it was blended? 190 years. By whom? English East India Company. Children, are you clear? Once again, who is the Nawab of Bengal? Siraj-ud-Dowlah, who was defeated by English East India Company. Which battle he was defeated? The Battle of Plassey. And this Battle of Plassey, who organized? Robert Clive. Who is Robert Clive? He is a commander-in-chief of English East India Company, and Robert Clive, he tried to get the support of Mir Jafar. And Mir Jafar, whom I told, is uncle of Sirajuddaula and chief of Nawab's army. Then another person is coming. Who is that? Jagat Seth. Who is Jagat Seth here? Manilendra of Bengal. Okay. He also instituted by Sirajuddaula. And between 1757 and 1760, the English East India Company received 22.5 million. For whom? From whom? Mir Jafar. Why? This amount of money they used to start industrial revolution in Britain. Okay. Then, which rapidly mechanized the British textile industry. On the other side of India was in the path of deindustrialization. India was forced to create market for manufacturing products in Britain. Finally, India was used to blended by English East India Company for more than 190 years. The British people, they blended India for more than 190 years. Next, peasant and tribal resistance. What is the topic? Peasant and tribal resistance. While the urban elite of India was busy in responding to Western ideas, rationality, and various social religious reform movements, the rural people were aggressively opposed the British rule. பாருங்க, நகரப்புற மக்கள், உயர்குடி மக்கள் இருக்காங்களே, அவங்க வந்து ரொம்ப பிஸியா இருக்காங்க. இதுல in responding Western ideas, அவங்களுக்கு இது பிடிக்குது, Western ideas பிடிக்குது. Rationality meaning what? பகுத்தறிவாதம். பகுத்தறிவாதத்துல அவங்க ரொம்ப பிஸியா இருக்காங்க, அவங்களுக்கு இது பிடிக்குது. Okay. And various socio religious reform movement. In these three things, the urban elite people are very busy. Which are they? Western ideas, rationality, and socio religious reform movement. But rural people are very aggressively oppose the British rule. Okay. Then there are nearly 100% revolt started during British period. How many revolts? Nearly 100% revolt started during British period. We can categorize one by one. What is the first one? Restorative rebellions. What is the first one? Restorative rebellion. Here this revolt started to restore the old order and old social relation. The restorative rebellion was started to restore the old order and old social relation. Second one, religious movements. So what is the second one? Religious movement. It was started by religious leaders. It was started by religious leaders. They are fighting for liberate the local people. அதாவது உள்ளூர் மக்கள் வந்து விடுதலை ஆகணும் அப்படின்றதுக்காக the religious leaders வந்து fight பண்றாங்க. By restoring society on certain religious principles. அவங்க என்ன பண்றாங்க? அவங்களுடைய மத கொள்கைகளை வைத்து இவங்களை விடுதலை ஆகணும்னு பார்க்கறாங்க. யாரு? Religious leaders. Third one, social banditry. Banditry அப்படின்னா கொள்ளை, rebellion சொல்லலாம். Okay. Social banditry. Here, leaders considered criminals by British and urban elite. அப்ப இந்த லீடர்ஸ் இருக்காங்க இல்லையா, ஜனங்களுக்காக போராடுறாங்க இல்லையா, அவங்கள வந்து இந்த கிரிமினல்ஸ் என்ன சொல்றாங்க, இந்த பிரிட்டிஷ் பீப்புள் என்ன சொல்றாங்க, கிரிமினல்ஸ் அப்படின்றோம். So whoever the leaders are fighting for the people are considered criminals by British, but people consider them as the heroes and champions. People அவங்க என்ன சொல்றாங்க, ஹீரோஸும் சாம்பியன்ஸும் அப்படின்னு சொல்றாங்க. யாரு? People. The last one, mass insurrection. Mass insurrection அப்படின்னா rebellion. Here usually leaderless and spontaneous uprising. So the leaders, there is no leader for the revolt. It was suddenly happened. The revolt suddenly happened. Which one? This revolt, the peasant revolt. Peasant revolt suddenly happened. There is no leader. It was happened spontaneously. Which one? This revolt. Students, once again, we saw there are four categories for starting. There are many revolts started, but only important events you can say restorative rebellion and religious movement and third one social banditry, and fourth one mass insurrection. Next, peasant uprising. Peasant revolts began to erupt in the early 19th century and continued till the very end of British rule in India. Farsi movement. Farsi movement was launched by Haji Shariatullah in 1818. After the death of Shariatullah in 1839, the rebellion was led by his son Tudimian, who called upon the peasants not to pay tax. It gained popularity on a simple doctrine that land and all wealth should be equally enjoyed by the common folk. Tudimian laid emphasis on the egalitarian nature of religion and declared that land belongs to God and collecting rent or levying tax on it was therefore against divine law. Large number of peasants were mobilized through a network of village organization. After the death of Tudimian in the year 1862, there was revived in the year 1870s by Nova Mian. Wahhabi rebellion in Parishad. The Wahhabi rebellion was anti-imperial and anti-landlord movement. It originated in and around 1827 in the Parishad region of Bengal. It was led by an Islamic preacher, Tutumir, who was deeply influenced by Wahhabi teachings. He became an influential figure among the predominantly Muslim peasantry oppressed under the coercive zamindari system. Tribal uprising. Under colonial rule, for the first time in Indian history, government claimed a direct proprietary right over forest. The British rule and its encouragement of commercialization of forests led to the disintegration of the traditional tribal system. It encouraged the incursion of tribal areas by the non-tribal people such as moneylenders, traders, land grabbers and contractors. This led to the widespread loss of Adivasi land and the displacement from their traditional habitats. Tribal resistance was therefore a response against those who either introduced changes in the peaceful tribal life or took undue advantage of the innocence of the tribal people. Next, Coal Revolt. One major tribal revolt, the Coal Uprising of 1831 to 1832, took place in Chotanagpur and Singham region of present-day Jharkhand and Odisha under the leadership of Bindrai and Singari. Bindrai and Singrai. The Raj of Chotanagpur had leased out to moneylenders to the job of revenue collection. The usury and forcible eviction of tribal from their land led to the resentment of coals. The initial protest and resistance coal was in the form of plunder, arson, and attacks on the properties of outsiders. This was followed by the killing of moneylenders and merchants. The tribal leaders adopted varied methods to spread their message, such as beating of drums, accompanied by warning to all outsiders to leave. The British suppressed the rebellion with great violence. Santhal Hul, that is insurrection. Santals scattered in various parts of eastern India when forced to move out of their homeland during the process of creation of zamins under permanent settlement, cleared the forest area around the Rajmahal hills. They were oppressed by the local police and European officers engaged in the railway construction. Pushed out of their familiar habitat, the Santals were forced to rely on the moneylenders for the subsistence. Soon, they were trapped in the vicious circle of debt and extortion. Besides this, Santals also felt neglected under the corrupt British administration and their inability to render justice to the legitimate grievances. Outbreak. Around 1854, activities of special social banditry led by the person named Bir Singh was reported from different places. These were directed against Mahajans and traders. In 1855, two Santhal brothers, Sidhu and Kanu, proclaimed that they had received a divine message from God asking them to lead the rebellion. By July 1855, the rebellion has taken the form of open insurrection against the Mahajans, the Zamindars, and the British officials. They marched with bows, poisoned arrows, axes, and swords, taking over the Rajmahal and Bhagalpur by proclaiming that the company rule was about to end. In response, villages were raided and properties destroyed by the British. In 1855, an act was passed to regulate the territories occupied by the Santals. The act formed the territory into a separate division called the Santal Pargana Division. So these are the two brothers. Munda Rebellion. Next, Munda Rebellion. One of the prominent tribal rebellion of this period occurred in Ranchi, known as Ulugulan Rebellion, that is Great Tumult. The Munda people were familiar with the cooperative or collective farming known as Kunkati, that is joint holding land system. It was totally eroded by the introduction of private ownership of land and the intrusion of merchants and moneylenders. The Munda people were also forcibly recruited as interned laborers to work on plantations. In the year 1890s, tribal chief offered resistance against the alienation of tribal people from their land and imposition of bedbegari or forced labor. The movement received an impetus when Birsa Munda declared himself as a messenger of God. Birsa claimed that he had prophecy and promised supernatural solutions to the problem of Munda people and the establishment of Birsite Raj. The Munda leaders utilized the cult of Mirsa Munda to recruit more people to their cause. A series of night meetings were held and revolt was planned. On the Christmas day of 1889, they resorted to violence. Buildings were burned down and arrows were shot at Christian missionaries and Munda Christian converts. Soon police station and government officials were attacked. Similar attacks were carried out over the next few months. Finally, the resistance was crushed and Birsa Munda was arrested in February 1900, who later died in jail. Birsa Munda became a folk hero who is to this day celebrated in many folk songs. The Munda rebellion prompted the British to formulate a policy on tribal land. The Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act in the year 1908 restricted the entry of non-tribal people into the tribal land. The Great Rebellion of 1857. We can call it this revolt as a first war of Indian independence. In the year 1857, the British rule witnessed the biggest challenge to its existence. Initially, it began as a mutiny of Bengal Presidency sepoys, but later expanded to the other parts of India, involving a large number of civilians, especially peasants. The events of 1857 and 1858 are significant for the following reasons. This was the first major revolt of armed forces accompanied by civilian rebellion. The revolt witnessed unprecedented violence perpetrated by both sides. The revolt ended the role of East India Company and the governance of Indian subcontinent was taken over by the British Crown. The Great Rebellion of 1857. In the year 1857, British rule witnessed the biggest challenge to its existence. Initially, it began as a mutiny of Bengal Presidency sepoys, but later on expanded to other parts of India, involving a large number of civilians, especially peasants. Causes: annexation policy of British India. Second, insensitivity to Indian cultural sentiment. Third, the revolt. Bahadur Shah proclaimed as Emperor of Hindustan, civil rebellion, prominent fighters against the British. Third, that is C, suppression of rebellion. D, causes of failure. E, India became a crown colony. Changes in the administration. Annexation policy of British India. In the year 1840s and 1850s, more territories were annexed through two major policies. The doctrine of paramountcy. The British claimed themselves as a paramount exercising supreme authority. New territories were annexed to the grounds that the native rulers were inept. The doctrine of lapse. If the native ruler did not have male heir to the throne, the territory was to be lapsed into the British India upon the death of ruler. Sadara, Sambalpur, parts of Punjab, Jhansi and Nagpur were annexed by the British through the doctrine of lapse. Insensitivity to the Indian cultural sentiment. In the year 1806, the Sepoys at Vellore mutinied against a new dress code which prohibited Indians from wearing religious marks on their forehead and having whiskers on their chin, while proposing to replace their turbans with the round hat. It was feared that the dress code was part of their effort to convert to convert soldiers to Christianity. Similarly, in the year 1824, the Sepoys at Barakpur near Calcutta refused to go to Burma by sea, since crossing the sea meant the loss of the caste. The Sepoys were also upset with the discrimination in salary and promotion. Indian Sepoys were paid much less than their European counterparts. They felt humiliated and racially abused by their seniors. The revolt. The precursor to the revolt was the circulation of rumors about the cartridges of the new Enfield rifle. There was strong suspicion that the new cartridges had been greased with the cow and pig fat. The cartridge had to be bitten off before loading. That is, pork is forbidden to the Muslims and cow is sacred to the large section of Hindus. On 29th March, a Sepoy named Mangal Pandey assaulted his European officer. His fellow soldiers refused to arrest him when ordered to do so. Mangal Pandey, along with the others, were court-martialed, and hanged. This only fueled the anger, and in the following days there were increasing incidents of disobedience. Burning and arson were reported from the army cantonments in Ambala, Lucknow, and Meerut. Bahadur Shah proclaimed as Emperor of Hindustan. On 11th May 1857, a band of Sepoys from Meerut marched to the Red Fort in Delhi. The Sepoys were followed by an equally exuberant crowd which gathered to ask the Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah II to become their leader. After much hesitation, he accepted the offer and was proclaimed as a Sagan Shah-e Hindustan, that is, Emperor of Hindustan. Soon, the rebels captured the northwestern province and Awadh. As the news of the fall of Delhi reached of the Ganges Valley, cantonment after the cantonment mutinied till by the beginning of June. British rule in North India, except the Punjab and Bengal, had disappeared. So this map shows about the important centers of Great Rebellion in the year 1857. So Ambala is here, Delhi, Gwalior, Meerut, Bareilly, Agra, Lucknow, Kanpur, Jhansi, Allahabad, Banaras and Barakpur. These are the important centers of Great Rebellion of 1857. Next, Civil Rebellion. This mutiny was equally supported by an aggrieved rural society of North India. Sepoys working in the British Army were in fact peasants in uniform. They were equally affected by the restructuring of the Ravani administration. The Sepoy revolt and the subsequent civil rebellion in various parts of India had a deep-rooted connection with rural mass. The first civil rebellion broke out in other parts of in the parts of northwestern province and Oudh. These were the two regions from which the Sipais were predominantly recruited. A large number of zamindars and talukdars were also attracted to the rebellions as they had lost their various privileges under the British government. The talukdar peasant collective was a common effort to recover what they had lost. Similarly, artisans and handicrafts peasants were equally affected by the dethroning of rulers of many Indian states who were major source of patronage. The dumping of British manufacturers had ruined the Indians' handicrafts and thrown thousands of weavers out of employment. Collective anger against the British took the form of the people of revolt. Prominent fighters against the British. The mutiny provided a platform to aggrieved kings, nawabs, and queens and zamindars to express the anti-British anger. Nana Sahib, the adopted son of last Peshwa Bajirao II, provided leadership in the Kanpur region. He had been denied pension by the company. Similarly, Begum Hasrat Mahal in Lucknow and Khan Bahadur in Bareilly took the command of their respective territories, which were once ruled either by them or by their ancestors. Another such significant leader was Rani Lakshmi Bai, who assumed the leadership in Jhansi. In her case, Dalhousie, the Governor General of Bengal, had refused her request to adopt a son as a successor after her husband died, and kingdom was annexed under the doctrine of lapse. Rani Lakshmi Bai battled the mighty British army until she was defeated. Bahadur Shah Jafar, Kunwar Singh, Khan Bahadur, Rani Lakshmi Bai, and many others were rebels against their will, compelled by the bravery of the Sipais who had defied the British authority. Suppression of rebellion. By the beginning of June 1857, the Delhi, Meerut, Rohilkhand, Agra, Allahabad, and Benares division of the army had been restored to British control and placed under martial law. Causes of failure. There is hardly any evidence to prove that the rebellion of 1857 was organized and planned. It was spontaneous. However, soon after the siege of Delhi, there was an attempt to seek the support of neighboring states. Besides a few Indian states, there was a general lack of enthusiasm among the Indian princes to participate in the rebellion. The Indian princes and zamindars either remained loyal or were fearful of British power. Those involved in the rebellion were left with either little or no sources of arms and ammunition. The emerging English educated middle class too did not support the rebellion. One of the important reasons for the failure of rebellion was the absence of central authority. There was no common agenda that united the individuals and aspiration of the Indian princes and the various other feudal elements fighting against the British. In the end, rebellion was brutally suppressed by the British army. The rebel leaders were defeated due to the lack of weapons, organization, discipline, and betrayal of the aides. Delhi was captured by the British troops in the late 1857. Bahadur Shah was captured and transported to Burma. India becomes a crown colony. The British Parliament adopted the Indian Government Act in November 1858, and India was pronounced as one of the many crown colonies to be directly governed by the Parliament. The responsibility was given to the member of the cabinet designated as a Secretary of the State for India. Changes in the administration. British rule and its policies underwent a major overhaul after 1857. British followed a cautious approach to the issue of social reform. Queen Victoria proclaimed to the Indian people that British would not interfere in traditional institutions and religious matters. It was promised that Indians would be absorbed in government services. Two significant changes were made to the structure of Indian army. The number of Indians were significantly reduced, and Indians were restrained from holding important ranks and positions. The British took control of artillery and shifted their recruiting effort to regions and communities that remained loyal during 1857. For instance, the British turned away from Rajputs, Brahmins, and North Indian Muslims and looked towards the non-Hindu groups like Gurkhas, Sikhs, Pathans. British also exploited the caste, religious, linguistics, and regional differences in the Indian society through what came to be known as divide and rule policy. The Peasant Revolt under Crown, Indigo Revolt 1859 to 1860, and Deccan Riots 1875. Indigo Revolt of 1859 to 1860. Before synthetic dyes were created, natural indigo dye was highly valued by cloth makers around the world. Many Europeans employed peasants to grow the indigo, which was processed into dye at the planters' factories. The dye then exported to Europe. The peasants were forced to grow the crop. The British planters gave the cultivator a cash advance to help pay for the rent of the land and other costs. This advance needed to be repaid with interest. The planters forced the peasant grow indigo rather than food crops. At the end of the season, the planters paid the cultivators low prices for the indigo. Moreover, the small amount the peasant earned was not enough to pay back the cash advance with interest. So they fell into debt. However, the peasant again would be forced to enter into another contract to grow indigo. The peasant was never able to clear the debts. Debts were often passed from father and son, father to son. The Indigo Revolt began in the year 1859. The rebellion began as a strike as a peasant of village in Bengal's Nadia district refused to grow any more indigo. The movement quickly spread to other indigo growing districts of Bengal. The revolt then turned violent. The peasant, both Hindu and Muslim, participated in the revolt, and women armed with pots and pans fought along with the men. The Indian journalist in Calcutta wrote articles about brutality of the planters. The 1860 play Nil Dorban, that is Mirror of Indigo, by Dina Bandhu Mitra, did much to draw attention in India and Europe to the plight of the indigo growers. The Deccan Riots of 1875. Heavy taxation ruined agriculture, famine deaths increased. The first recorded incident of rioting against the moneylenders in the Deccan was in May 1875 in Supa, a village near Pune. Similar cases of riots were reported from close to 30 villages in Pune and Ahmednagar. The rioting was directed mostly at the Gujarat moneylenders. Under British rule, peasants were forced to pay revenue directly to the government. Also, under a new law, moneylenders were allowed to attack the mortgaged land of defaulters and auction it off. This resulted in the transfer of land from the cultivators to the non-cultivating classes. Trapped in the vicious cycle of debt and unable to pay the outstanding amount, the peasant was forced to abandon cultivation. The foundation of Indian National Congress, 1870 to 1885. Rise of nationalism, economic critique of colonialism, objectives and methods, and militant nationalism. Rise of nationalism. The second half of 19th century saw the emergence of national political consciousness among a new social class of English educated Indians. The Indian intelligentsia played a critical role in generating the national consciousness by exposing a large number of people to the idea of nationalism, and various democratic aspirations. The flourishing of print media, both in vernacular and English, played a significant role in circulating such ideas. Even though they were numerically small, They had a national character and capacity to establish contacts on all India scale. They were working as a lawyers, journalists, government employees, teachers or doctors. They took the initiative to float political outfits such as Madras Native Association 1852, East India Association 1866, Madras Mahajana Sabha 1884, Pune Sarvajanik Sabha 1870, the Bombay Presidency Association 1885, and many others. Economic critique of colonialism. One of the most significant contributions of early Indian nationalists was the formulation of an economic critique of colonialism. Tadabai Nauroji, Justice Ranade, and Ramesh Chandra Dutt played a significant role in making this criticism about colonial economy. They clearly understood that the prosperity of the British lay in the economic and political subjugation of India. They concluded that colonialism was a main obstacle to the Indian economic development. Objectives and methods. The formation of the Indian National Congress in the year 1885 was intended to establish All India Organization. It was a culmination of attempts by groups of educated Indian politically active in three presidencies, Bombay, Madras and Calcutta. AO whom led his services to facilitate the formation of Congress. Ramesh Chandra Banerjee was the first president 1885 Indian National Congress. The first session of Indian National Congress was held on 28th December 1885. The early objectives were to develop and consolidate sentiments of national unity, but also professed loyalty to Britain. The techniques included appeals, petitions, and delegations to Britain, all done with the constitutional framework. Some of the key demands were the following: creation of legislative council at provincial and central level, increase in the number of elected members in the legislative council, separating judicial and executive function, reducing military expenditure, reduction of home charges, extension of trial by jury, holding civil services exams in India as well as in England, police reforms, reconsideration of forest laws, promotion of Indian industries, and an end to unfair tariffs and excise duties, extension of tribal by jury, holding civil services exams in India as well as in England, police reforms, reconsideration of forest laws, and promotion of Indian industries, and an end to unfair tariff and excise duties. Militant nationalism. The methods of moderate leaders failed to yield many substantive changes in the British attitude towards the moderate demands of early Indian nationalists. They were criticized by a group of leaders known as extremists. Instead of prayers and petitions, these militants were more focused on self-help. Partition of Bengal. Hindu-Muslim divide, anti-partition movement, boycott and Swadeshi movement in Bengal 1905 to 1911, constructive Swadeshi, passive resistance, militant nationalism, Swaraj or political independence. Partition of Bengal. Partition of Bengal in the year 1905 was the most unpopular of all. The partition led to the widespread protest all across India, starting a new phase of the Indian national movement. The idea of partition was devised to suppress the political activities against the British rule in Bengal by creating a Hindu-Muslim divide. Hindu-Muslim divide. It was openly stated that objective of partition was to curtail Bengal influence and weaken the nationalist movement. By placing Bengal under two administrative units, Curzon reduced the Bengali speaking people to a linguistic minority in the divided Bengal. Lord Curzon assured Muslims that in the new province of East India, Muslims would enjoy a unity which they never enjoyed since the days of the Mughals. Instead of dividing the Bengal people along the religious line, partition united them. The growth of regional language, Newspapers played a role in building a sense of proud Bengal identity. Anti-partition movement. With the failure of Anil, the partition moderate leaders were forced to rethink their strategy and look for new techniques of protest. The boycott of British goods was one such method. However, the agenda of Swadeshi movement was still restricted to secure an annulment of partition, and the moderates were very much against utilizing the campaign to start a full-fledged passive resistance. The militant nationalists, on the other hand, were in favor of extending the movement beyond Bengal and to initiate the full-scale mass struggle. The day Bengal was officially partitioned, 16th October 1905, was declared as a day of mourning. Thousands of people took bath in the Ganga and marched on the streets of Calcutta singing Vande Mataram. Boycott and Swadeshi movement in Bengal 1905 to 1911. Boycott and Swadeshi were always interlinked to each other and parts of wider plan to make India self-sufficient. Four major trends can be discerned during the Swadeshi movement in Bengal. There are the moderate trend, constructive Swadeshi, militant nationalism, revolutionary terrorism. Constructive Swadeshi. The constructive programs largely stressed upon self-help. It focused on building constructive Swadeshi alternative institutions of self-governance that would operate free of British control. Swadeshi shops sprang all over the place, selling textiles, handlooms, soaps, earthenware, match and leather goods. Passive resistance. From 1906, the Swadeshi movement took a turn. Under this new direction, the Swadeshi program included 4 points: boycott of foreign goods, boycott of government schools and colleges, courts, titles and government services, development of Swadeshi industries, national schools, recourse to armed struggle if British repression went beyond the limits of endurance. Militant nationalism. Lala Lajpat Rai of Punjab, Bala Gangadhar Tilak of Maharashtra, and Bimal Chandra Pal of Bengal were three important leaders during the Swadeshi movement and were referred as the Lal Bal Pal, that is, triumvirate. Punjab, Bengal, Maharashtra emerged as the heartbeat of militant nationalism during the Swadeshi movement. In South India, Tuticorin became the most important location of Swadeshi activity with the launch of Swadeshi Steam Navigation Company by V.O. Sidambaranar. Swaraj for political independence. One of the common goals of extremist leaders was to achieve Swaraj or self-rule. However, the leaders differed on the meaning of Swaraj. For Tilak, Swaraj was attainment of complete autonomy and total freedom from foreign rule. Home Rule movement, which started in the year 1916 to 1918. Objectives of the Home Rule movement: Lucknow Pact and British response. Home Rule movement. The Indian national movement was revived and also radicalized during the Home Rule movement 1916 to 1918, led by Lokmanya Tilak and Annie Besant. World War I and Indian participation in it was the background for the Home Rule League. When Britain declared war against Germany in the year 1914, the moderate and liberal leadership extended their support to the British cause. It was hoped that in return, the British government would give self-government after the war. Indian troops were sent to several theatres of the World War, but British administration remained non-committal to such goals. What was seen as a British betrayal to the Indian cause of self-government led to fresh call for a mass movement to pressurize the British government. Objectives of the Home Rule movement: to attain self-government within the British Empire by using constitutional means, to obtain status of dominion, a political position accorded later to Australia, Canada, South Africa, and New Zealand, to use non-violent constitutional methods to achieve their goals. Lucknow Pact 1916. The Home Rule movement and the subsequent reunion of moderate and militant nationalists opened the possibility of fresh talks with the Muslims. Under the Lucknow Pact of 1916, the Congress and the Muslim League agreed that there should be self government in India as soon as possible. In return, the Congress leadership accepted the concept of separate electorate for Muslims. British response. As the demand for Suraj was raised by Tilak and any peasant that gained popularity, the British used the same old ploy to isolate the leaders by repressing their activities. In 1919, the British government announced the Montague-Chelmsford reforms, which promised gradual progress of India towards self-government. This caused deep disappointment to Indian nationalists. In the further blow, the government enacted what was called the Rowlatt Act, which provided for arbitrary arrest and strict punishment. Children, thank you.